All right, buckle up, everybody, because we are diving into some pretty interesting stuff today. You guys sent us a bunch of audio snippets.
And we thought they were just typical motivational messages, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But wow, were we in for a surprise?
Definitely not what we were expecting.
I
Once
don't
we
know.
started digging deeper, we realized there was a lot more to these than meets the eye.
So we're talking short audio clips, and they're full of positive affirmations and stuff, right?
Right.
But then there's also some pretty strange things in there, like detailed weather reports
Uh-huh.
and shout outs to this mysterious quad squad. I mean, come on, that's got to be intriguing.
Totally. And all of that is kind of mixed in with topics ranging from appreciating, like the simple things, like a clean butt after a shower.
Okay, wait, what?
Yeah, to like advice on dealing with negative people. It's a pretty wild mix.
It's like a motivational roller coaster.
Okay.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. One thing that really stood out was the repetition. I mean, the speaker uses certain phrases over and over again, almost like an obsession. We're talking quad squad, awesome, and ain't kidding, constantly.
Yeah, and that repetition, even if the message itself is super simple, can actually be really powerful psychologically. Have you ever heard of the mere exposure effect?
I don't think so.
So basically, it means that the more we're exposed to something, the more we tend to like it. It's kind of like subliminal advertising, but for, good vibes instead.
Oh, okay, I see. So maybe that explains why I'm suddenly feeling this urge to scrub my butt and join this quad squad, even though I still have absolutely no clue who they are.
Exactly. The repetition creates this feeling of familiarity, almost like you're in on a secret or a joke. And that mystery around the quad squad, that just adds to the intrigue.
It's like a secret society, but with positivity as the password. But here's the thing. These snippets aren't just about crushing goals or overcoming challenges. There's a surprising emphasis on, appreciating the little things, finding beauty in the everyday, and get this, the importance of love.
Yeah, it's almost like a more well-rounded approach to well-being, not just focused on external success.
Yeah, it's more about having a positive mindset, nurturing relationships, and finding joy in those simple things, right?
Absolutely.
And then we have these day check clips, which honestly I found both hilarious and strangely endearing. I mean, who gives weather reports in such detail, even mentioning a red face from scrubbing their beard?
I think those little everyday details actually play a pretty important role here. By sharing these really mundane moments, the speaker is creating this sense of connection and routine. Like they're letting listeners know they're not alone in just, living life.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're all in this together, even the beard scrubbing. But then,
All right.
just when we thought we had the speaker figured out as this, unstoppable optimist, we hit a clip that totally threw us off. It's the one about avoiding negative people, the ones who have a problem for every solution. It felt so jarring, so out of place.
Yeah, it's like a total shift in tone, like we're suddenly seeing a different side of them. It makes you wonder, right?
Totally. Is this a genuine piece of advice from someone who's dealt with negativity? Or is it more strategic, like they're trying to make themselves seem more relatable, more human?
Because let's be real, we all encounter negativity at some point. So is this a moment of vulnerability, a glimpse into their own struggles? Or is it more calculated, like they're trying to add another dimension to their persona?
It's a question worth thinking about, and it definitely makes you reassess your whole perception of the speaker and their message. Maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows after all. Maybe there's more depth to it, more real-life experience shaping their perspective.
It's kind of like, it makes you think differently about what a motivational message should be.
Yeah.
It's not always these big pronouncements or inspirational quotes, you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
Sometimes it's more about those smaller moments, those little quirky observations. Life isn't always perfect.
It's more like we're getting a glimpse of a real person, not just some polished, motivational guru. And honestly, that's pretty refreshing, don't you think?
Totally agree. Makes it way more relatable, more human.
Definitely.
Which kind of leads to a question for you, dear listener. Why should you even care about these random little audio snippets? What can we even take away from all this?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's it challenges how we think about motivational stuff, do we always need these perfectly crafted messages and big pronouncements to feel inspired? Or can we find just as much value, maybe even more, in those simpler things, those quirky observations, or even just those everyday moments?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe real motivation comes from being genuine, from embracing the messiness of life, The good, the bad, and the just plain weird. Maybe it comes from connecting with someone who's willing to share their clean butt enthusiasm with the world.
Okay, now that's a hilarious image. But I see what you mean. There's a certain vulnerability in that, right? Like a willingness to be seen, even in those less than perfect moments. It makes them feel more like, well, us.
Exactly. And that vulnerability can be so powerful. It lets us let our guard down to embrace our own imperfections and find connection in those shared human experiences, flaws and all.
So it's like this speaker, with all their quirks and contradictions, is actually showing us a healthier way to approach life. And even like self-improvement.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good reminder that we don't always need to strive for some crazy, unattainable ideal. Sometimes it's enough to just be ourselves, flaws and all, and to find joy in, just being alive.
I love that. I think it's a message that everyone can benefit from, even if it's coming from someone who's constantly telling us that we're awesome and part of the quad squad, which, let's be real, we still have no idea what that even means.
And speaking of awesome, it's interesting how often the speaker uses that word, right?
Yeah.
It's like more than a compliment,
Oh, yeah.
almost like an affirmation, a way to instill a sense of self-worth, in the listener and maybe even themselves.
Oh, that's interesting. It goes back to that whole self-affirmation thing and the power of repetition we talked about before. Yeah.
Maybe by repeating these positive phrases, they're not only trying to motivate others, but also themselves, like creating this positive feedback loop, reinforcing these beliefs both internally and externally.
That's a really good point. It makes you wonder how much of what we say is actually for us,
Right.
Like a way of shaping our own reality, reinforcing the things we want to believe about ourselves.
Yeah, it's like we all have these internal monologues going on,
Yeah.
these stories we're constantly telling ourselves about who we are and what we believe. And maybe by sharing these snippets, this speaker is giving us a peek into their own internal world, like their own search for positivity and connection.
And by doing that, they're encouraging us to do the same.
Yeah.
To look at our own internal narratives. Like, what messages are we telling ourselves? Are they empowering and uplifting, or are they holding us back?
That's a powerful question. It really highlights how even the simplest messages can have an impact, especially when they're repeated over and over again.
For sure.
They become part of who we are. Yeah. It's like a reminder that words have power, not just for the person listening, but for the person speaking to. They shape how we think, what we believe, and what we actually do. So I think as we finish up this deep dive into these audio snippets, well, the question we're left with is this.
Do these snippets make you more or less inclined to check out like the rest of the speaker's stuff, all their motivational content, and why?
Yeah, it's something each listener has to figure out for themselves. But for me, these snippets, with all the quirks and contradictions and everything,
Uh-huh.
I think they show the power of being genuine,
Yeah.
even when it's messy or different.
Yeah.
We connect with people who feel real,
Right.
people who are willing to share, their vulnerabilities and imperfections, not just their good sides.
I totally agree. And that's what makes this whole collection so interesting. It's not your typical, super polished motivational stuff,
Yeah.
but it's definitely compelling and it stays with you even after you're done listening.
It's a good reminder that inspiration can come from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that even those simple messages, when they're said with sincerity, they can have a big impact.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with this question, like, what's the full story with the speaker? We got these glimpses, these flashes of their personality, but we still want more.
Yeah, it's like we're putting together a puzzle, but some pieces are missing. We can see the general idea, but we don't know how everything fits together. And that's where you come in, dear listener.
Exactly. That's what makes it so cool. It makes you curious. You want to know more. You want to fill in those gaps and understand what makes this person tick.
That's what's great about these deep dives. They don't always give us all the answers. Instead they give us new questions, new things to explore, and they keep the conversation going.
Yeah, they remind us that there's always more to learn, even in the stuff that seems boring. And sometimes the most insightful stuff comes from the most unexpected places.
So, dear listener, keep your ears open for those little moments of inspiration, those offbeat observations, those glimpses into what makes us human. Those are the things that make life so interesting and complicated.
You never know when you'll have your next aha moment, right? It could be in a motivational message, a weather report, or even, someone professing their love for a clean butt. So keep an open mind, stay curious, and keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.